The judge in the case says the special counsel has made a prima facie case of criminality involving Trump. Prima facie, Latin, always makes it sound weighty, right? But what does it mean? It means at first look, meaning that this is an initial showing, and a showing that could be rebutted by further proof. But it is enough that Trump may have intentionally misled even his lawyers about what he knew he had. And because of that, the judge ruled attorney-client privilege has been waived and prosecutors are being given access to texts and other communications between Trump and his attorney. And the fact that Trump is again crying foul and casting blame for another new development, that's him playing the game. So you got to be careful. And we're going to discuss how this new development changes things. The idea that, oh, well, it's just one bad judge. No, it isn't. The appellate panel, which is a 3-judge.
Okay, so here's what's absolutely wild about what's happening right now. Trump's entire classified documents case, the one where he allegedly took all those national security secrets to Mar-a-Lago and refused to give them back, that case just got thrown out completely. A federal judge named Aileen Cannon ruled that the special counsel who was prosecuting Trump was improperly appointed. And so boom, the whole case disappears. Dozens of felony charges just vanished. Counts involving national security crimes, obstruction, all of it gone. And Trump is out here celebrating, claiming vindication, saying he was wrongly persecuted. But here's the crazy part that makes this story absolutely insane. Other federal judges are now forcing the government to release more information about what actually happened in that investigation. Judges are ordering disclosure of the secret report about Trump's conduct. Judges are saying the public deserves to know what he did. And at the same time, Trump is demanding hundreds of millions of dollars in damages from the government for being investigated in the first place. He's demanding compensation for being prosecuted. And impeachment activists are looking at all this and saying, this is it. This is the proof we need. This is evidence of Trump's unfitness for office. This is grounds for impeachment. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest, you can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us. Be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
The former president and this investigation to determine whether a crime was committed.
Now, I've been coming at it from the opposite direction with both President Biden and former President Trump. My supposition has been, from everything I know about both of these men, I don't think they'd have any clue what they took out of their offices. I mean, I wasn't surprised that a box of documents was found right next to Biden's vet in the garage. And I would be very surprised that Donald Trump had any kind of understanding of what documents had been taken, what their level of classification status was, and that he knew they were there and was hiding them, but in the basement at Mar-a-Lago. Does that kind of square with what you understand about the man and his practices?
Come on, are you kidding me? Trump gets away with taking classified documents by a technicality, and then he tries to sue the government for investigating him. He's trying to demand hundreds of millions of dollars as compensation for having criminal charges brought against him. That's not how any of this is supposed to work. That's not how law and justice work. You can't just take classified documents and refuse to return them and then demand money when you get investigated. That's insane. But that's what's happening. Trump is claiming he's the victim and he deserves money. And meanwhile, federal judges are forcing the release of information about what he actually did and how he actually obstructed justice. So you got this bizarre situation where Trump thinks he's winning because the criminal case got dismissed, but judges are simultaneously forcing transparency about his actual conduct. And Congress is using that transparency and using that information to push for impeachment because Trump's behavior is so egregious that criminal prosecution might not even be necessary. Maybe impeachment is the answer. And here's what really matters about this situation. The classified documents case was supposed to be one of the most serious legal threats Trump faced. This was about national security. This was about Trump allegedly taking the most sensitive secrets from the government and keeping them at his resort and refusing to return them. This was about obstruction of justice. This was about Trump allegedly hiding documents from law enforcement, This was a case with serious charges and serious consequences. But the case got dismissed on a technicality about how the special counsel was appointed, not on the merits. Trump didn't win because he was innocent. He won because of a technical legal issue. And that's not vindication. That's a loophole. That's the system failing to hold Trump accountable on the merits. And so Congress and impeachment advocates are saying if the criminal system can't hold Trump accountable, then Congress should use impeachment to hold him accountable instead. Are you serious right now? Federal judges are ordering the release of information about Trump's conduct in the classified documents investigation. Judges are saying the public deserves to see the secret report about what he did. Judges are saying transparency is more important than protecting Trump. And at the same time, Trump is out there demanding hundreds of millions of dollars in compensation for being investigated. The audacity is absolutely insane. Trump allegedly violated national security, allegedly obstructed justice, allegedly lied to investigators, and then he has the gall to demand money from the government for investigating him. And advocates for impeachment are saying this is exactly the kind of conduct the framers of the Constitution had in mind when they created impeachment. This is a president who thinks he's above the law. This is a president who thinks he can violate national security and then demand compensation. This is a president who thinks the rules don't apply to him, and Congress has the power to say no, Congress can impeach him. So here's where we are right now in late 2025. Trump's classified documents case has been dismissed on a technicality, but judges are forcing the release of information about what actually happened. Trump is demanding hundreds of millions of dollars in compensation for being investigated. Impeachment advocates are using all this information to push Congress to impeach Trump again. And grassroots organizations are running crowd-funded billboards outside Mar-a-Lago calling for impeachment. They've collected close to 1 million petition signatures calling for Congress to open a new impeachment inquiry. This is chaos. This is a constitutional crisis where the criminal justice system is failing to hold Trump accountable. So Congress is being pushed to do it instead. And that's going to be the drama that plays out over the next several weeks as Congress debates whether to move forward with new impeachment articles based on the classified document scandal and Trump's demand for compensation and all the newly disclosed information about his actual conduct. Okay, so let's dig into what actually happened with this classified documents case and understand why it's fueling this new impeachment push. Because this is not just about a legal case getting dismissed. This is about the entire system of checks and balances potentially failing and Congress stepping in to fill the gap. So let's look at the facts and understand what's actually going on and why it matters so much for whether Trump can be held accountable. The classified documents case was massive. Trump was charged with roughly 40 felony counts. The allegations were serious. Trump allegedly took boxes and boxes of the most sensitive national security secrets from the White House when he left office. He allegedly took them to Mar-a-Lago. He allegedly refused to return them when the government asked. He allegedly obstructed the investigation. He allegedly lied to investigators. He allegedly moved documents around to hide them. This was supposed to be the most straightforward case against Trump because the facts were so clear and so documented. Investigators found the documents. They were at Mar-a-Lago. Trump knew he had them. The government asked for them back. Trump refused. It was all documented. And so special counsel Jack Smith brought federal charges based on this evidence. But then Judge Aileen Cannon ruled that Jack Smith was improperly appointed as a special counsel. Cannon said the way the Justice Department created the special counsel position violated separation of powers rules and violated federal law. And because Smith's appointment was illegal, everything he did was tainted. Every indictment he brought was invalid. Every charge he filed was void. So all 40 felony counts just disappeared. The entire case collapsed, not because Trump was innocent or because the evidence was weak, but because of a technical legal issue about how the special counsel was appointed. Trump didn't win on the merits. Trump won on a technicality. Now, here's where it gets interesting and where it connects to impeachment. Other federal judges are looking at what happened and saying we need more transparency about this investigation. An appeals court ordered a lower court to issue a prompt ruling on whether to unseal the special counsel's secret report about Trump's conduct. The court said the delay in deciding whether the public could see the report was undue. They wanted the report made public. They wanted transparency about what Trump actually did. And separately, a federal judge required the FBI and DOJ to search for and release more records related to the Mar-a-Lago investigation. Judge Beryl Howell emphasized that Trump's re-election and the immunity rulings by the Supreme Court had removed barriers to disclosure. The judge was saying we should release this information because Trump is president again and can't be prosecuted anyway, so there's no reason to keep it secret. So you've got this weird situation where the criminal case gets dismissed on a technicality, but judges are simultaneously ordering the release of information about what Trump actually did. They're saying the public deserves to know what happened in the investigation. They're saying the secret report should be unsealed. They're saying the records should be released. And all this information is going to detail Trump's actual conduct, how he allegedly took classified documents, how he allegedly obstructed justice, how he allegedly tried to hide evidence. And that information is going to be ammunition for impeachment advocates. And then on top of all this, Trump does something absolutely shocking. He demands compensation from the government. He demands hundreds of millions of dollars, roughly $230 million, in damages for having been investigated in the first place. Trump is essentially saying I was wrongly prosecuted and I deserve to be paid for the damage to my reputation and my business. It's one of the most audacious and frankly disgusting things he's done. He took classified documents, he obstructed justice, he lied to investigators, and then he has the gall to demand money from the American people as compensation for being held accountable. And advocates for impeachment are saying this is exactly the kind of conduct that justifies removing a president from office. This is a president who thinks he's above the law. This is a president who thinks he can violate national security and then profit from it. Now, impeachment advocates and grassroots organizations are using all this information to push for a new impeachment inquiry. Organizations like Impeach Trump Again are running crowd-funded billboards on the road to Mar-a-Lago urging Congress to impeach Trump again. They're collecting petition signatures, they're mobilizing people, they're saying Congress needs to act because the criminal justice system has failed. The criminal case got dismissed on a technicality. Trump is not going to face criminal consequences, so Congress has a duty to use impeachment to hold him accountable. And here's what's important. Impeachment advocates are framing this as grounds for impeachment, not just on the basis of taking classified documents, but on the basis of Trump's overall unfitness for office. They're saying a president who thinks he can take national security secrets and then demand money as compensation for being investigated is unfit to serve. They're saying a president who thinks he's above the law and above accountability is exactly the kind of president the framers of the Constitution wanted to be able to remove through impeachment. They're saying this combination of conduct, taking classified documents, obstructing investigations, demanding compensation, that's the kind of thing that meets the threshold for removal from office. And here's the thing that makes this politically significant. Democrats in Congress are hearing this grassroots pressure. They're seeing the petition signatures. They're seeing the billboards. They're seeing advocacy groups mobilizing around impeachment. And they're seeing federal judges order the release of information about Trump's actual conduct. So they have ammunition. They have the grassroots energy. They have judicial backing for transparency. And they're starting to move toward another impeachment push. Not because they think they have the votes to remove Trump from office. They know they don't. But because they believe Congress has a constitutional duty to act when a president's conduct is this egregious. Okay, so let's break this down into simple points so you understand what's actually happening and why this classified documents case is fueling a new impeachment push. Because this is about the intersection of law and politics and accountability. It's about what happens when the criminal justice system fails and Congress has to step in. So let's look at 3 key points that explain what's going on and what comes next. First point, Trump took classified documents and obstructed justice, but the criminal case got dismissed on a technicality, not on the merits. This is important because it means Trump didn't win because he was innocent. He won because of a technical legal issue about how the special counsel was appointed. And that's a failure of the criminal justice system. The facts were clear, the evidence was strong, but a technicality killed the case. So the question becomes, if the criminal system can't hold Trump accountable because of a technicality, then who will? And the answer is Congress. Congress can use impeachment to hold Trump accountable even when the criminal justice system fails. And that's what impeachment advocates are arguing. They're saying this is exactly why impeachment exists. It exists as a backstop when the normal legal system fails to hold a president accountable. Second point, federal judges are ordering the release of information about Trump's actual conduct in the classified documents investigation. This is significant because it means judges believe the public deserves to know what Trump did. It means judges are rejecting the idea that Trump can hide behind executive privilege or other legal protections. Judges are saying transparency matters more than protecting Trump. And all this information about Trump's actual conduct is going to become public. People are going to see the secret report. People are going to see what investigators found. People are going to see the evidence of obstruction and lying and trying to hide documents. And that information is political ammunition for impeachment advocates. It's going to fuel calls for Congress to act. Third point, Trump is demanding compensation for being investigated. He's demanding hundreds of millions of dollars as damages for having criminal charges brought against him. And that's absolutely outrageous and absolutely impeachable conduct. A president who thinks he can violate national security and then demand money as compensation is a president who thinks he's above the law. A president who thinks he's entitled to special treatment above ordinary citizens is exactly the kind of president the framers wanted to be able to remove through impeachment. So Congress can point to Trump's demand for compensation and say this proves he's unfit for office. This proves he thinks he's above accountability. This proves he needs to be removed. So here's what's actually happening. The criminal case is gone because of a technicality. But judges are forcing disclosure of information about what Trump actually did. And grassroots organizations are pressuring Congress to impeach. And Trump is making things worse by demanding compensation for being investigated. All of this is converging into a perfect storm for a new impeachment push. Congress is going to face enormous pressure from the grassroots and from advocacy groups to open a new impeachment inquiry, and they're going to have a strong case to make because judges have ordered transparency about Trump's conduct and because Trump is demanding money for being held accountable. Now, the political reality is that impeachment probably won't result in removal. Republicans control the Senate. They're not going to vote to remove Trump, so impeachment won't end Trump's presidency. But it still matters. It still puts a constitutional marker down that says Congress believes Trump's conduct was serious enough to warrant removal. It still damages Trump politically. It still energizes the Democratic base. It still keeps abuse of power and obstruction of justice in the news cycle. So even though impeachment probably won't succeed in removing Trump, it still serves important purposes politically and constitutionally. And here's the bigger picture. Trump's entire legal strategy has been based on the idea that he can get away with anything because he controls the Justice Department and he's installed judges who are loyal to him. But what's happening with the classified documents case shows the limits of that strategy. Trump got away with the case on a technicality, but judges are simultaneously forcing disclosure of what he actually did. Trump thought he could hide behind executive privilege and keep the investigation secret. But judges are saying no. The public deserves to know. And that's a crack in Trump's armor. That's evidence that judges still have some independence. That's proof that the system still has some ability to force accountability even when the criminal justice system fails. And the grassroots pressure for impeachment is significant. Impeach Trump again, and other organizations are doing something that matters. They're keeping impeachment on the agenda. They're collecting petition signatures. They're running billboards. They're mobilizing people. They're telling Congress that the base wants impeachment. And Congress listens to that kind of pressure. If there's sustained grassroots pressure for impeachment, if advocacy groups are mobilizing, if people are signing petitions, that creates political momentum. That makes members of Congress feel like their base is demanding action, and that can push Congress toward impeachment even if the votes to remove aren't there. So the bottom line is this. Trump's classified documents case got dismissed on a technicality, but judges are forcing disclosure of what actually happened. Trump is demanding compensation for being investigated. Grassroots organizations are pressuring Congress for impeachment, and all this is converging into a new impeachment push. Congress is probably going to face calls for a new impeachment inquiry. Democrats are probably going to push for it, and even though removal probably won't succeed, impeachment still matters politically and constitutionally. It still holds Trump accountable even when the criminal justice system fails. It still sends a message that Congress believes his conduct crossed the line. It still puts abuse of power and obstruction of justice in the headlines. And that's why this story is so important and why you need to pay attention to what Congress decides to do about this classified documents case and this impeachment push. The real question is whether Congress will act, whether Democrats will move forward with impeachment articles, whether they'll push for a new impeachment inquiry. And if they do, that's going to be a major story that dominates Congress and the news cycle for weeks. That's going to put pressure on Republicans to explain why they're not voting to remove Trump, even though judges have ordered disclosure of his wrongdoing and grassroots organizations are demanding his removal. And that's the kind of constitutional moment that shapes how people remember this era of American history. So stay tuned. because this classified documents case and this new impeachment push are about to get a lot bigger and a lot more significant.